So we have our domain model, there it is with our 3 values, and we have our microflow. What that microflow will do is it will restrict access to just the first row of this table. So we have our way of saving these unique single values. Let's actually build a little app so we can actually see how we would use these in practice. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a sort of a panel, a form that would enable us to actually see those values and change those values. So I'm going to go into my first module, I'm going to do a right mouse click, and I'm going to go add page. Let's do that again, add page, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to create a blank page, and let's call it settings. The settings page, that'll be fine. Now I could use a wizard to do this, but I thought it'd be quite nice just to do this kind of manually. So let's click OK. Here it is. Now we want to actually display information on this page. So I'm going to use data. We actually want data to come from the domain model and be placed on here. So this is going to be a single, like a form, and the easiest way to do that is just to use a data view. So I'm going to drag a data view on like that. And of course it doesn't know what it should be displaying inside. So I'm going to go into the data source and I'm going to say, what kind of thing will it be displaying? Well, it's going to be displaying our global settings. So I just select that, and then when it says automatically fill the contents of the data view, I say yes, that's perfect. There we are. And we've got those 3 values, the app theme, the sort of process date, and the username. That's perfect. Now to make this a little bit more like a dialog box, we can actually go into the properties, and what we can do is we can say this is going to be more like a kind of dialog box, if you like. So what we can do is in here, if I just click on the page itself, up here under layout type, you can see it says responsive. What we could do is we could change that to be, for example, a modal pop-up. Now a modal pop-up basically means it's a pop-up dialog box that pops up and it seizes control of the page, so nothing else can actually be clicked on while this pop-up is still in place. So if I tap on modal pop-up, there you go, it looks more like a kind of pop-up dialog box. That's nice. And we can just save it. There we go, so I've got my little settings dialog box. Now, of course, we need a way to actually go into the settings. Now, I could add this into the menu. I'm going to do it using a button. Let's just put a button on the home page. So I go to the home web page. Here it is. And let's run, let's place a button on here. Now, your instinct might be to think what we do is we actually put a button on here which is going to open a page. But of course, what we really want to do is we want to only ever use that microflow to get values which are then displayed in that page. So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a microflow that's going to do those 2 things. It's basically going to call the other microflow and then show that settings page. So let's create a new microflow and let's call it show settings. So here's my button, and when we tap on that, what it's going to do is it's going to pop up the dialog box with our settings inside it. But in fact, what it's actually going to do is it's going to do 2 things. It's a microflow that's going to call our get or create settings microflow, and then it's going to display a page. So let's open up the microflow. Here it is. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to call another microflow, and there is an action here that says microflow call. So I'm just going to pop that on here like that, and then we're going to show a page like that. There we are. So let's configure both of these. The call microflow that we're actually going to be calling, well, we're going to be calling the get or create settings microflow, just like that. And this one here, what page are we actually going to be showing? we're going to be showing the, so if you double tap on it, what page we're going to be showing? We're going to be showing that settings page that we created. There we are. So let's go through the sequence. When you tap on the button on the home page, it's going to run this microflow. And what this microflow will do is it will use that microflow to get the values and then pass the values into our dialog box. Now that's a little bit more complicated than if we were just using a database normally, but of course we have those restrictions because we only ever want the top line, the first row of the table to actually be used. So we have to use the microflow and then we use our special page. So our special settings panel. Let's save it, let's build the app and see what actually happens when this runs. So while that's running, so wherever we want to actually use those settings inside our app, we're always going to be using that get or create settings microflow. We can use that to show the values on a page. We can use that microflow inside other microflows to get values so that we could use them to achieve certain functionality in the app. We're always going to be using this particular microflow to gain access to those values. So the app is ready, let's try it out. Here we go, so I've got a show settings button, I can just simply tap on that. It pops up the dialog box, and of course this is the first time that this has run, so what that microflow has done is it's set the default values and then it's returned it. Now I could cancel or I can save. Let's change the theme to dark. Let's change the name to Fred and let's save. And hopefully what it's done is when I click save, it saved those values back into the top row of that table. So if I click settings again, there you go, dark Fred, light Sarah, something like that. Show settings. We've got individual single values that we can use in our app and we can gain access to them like this.